Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight at Dark Tale Shorts 101. Tonight, I want to share a story someone once told me years ago from the small town in Ohio where I grew up. Back then, people in town rarely talked about this place during the daytime, and almost never after dark. As kids, we used to dare each other to drive near the old road where the house stood. Most people turned around before they even reached the gate. At first, I thought it was just another local legend people made up to scare kids. But the older I got, the more people I met who swore the story was true. And honestly, after hearing everything that happened there, I don't think I would ever step foot near that place myself. This is the story of the Hallow House. A few years ago, someone told me about an old house sitting outside the town where I grew up in Ohio. The house stood at the end of a dead road hidden behind dying trees and rusted fences. The locals avoided it completely, especially after dark. They called it the Hallow House. People believed the house was alive, not because of ghosts moving objects around, not because of strange lights. They believed the house itself breathed. Slow, heavy, like something sleeping inside the walls. The man who told me this story said a young veteran moved into town after leaving military service. He was looking for somewhere quiet to live and didn't believe in ghost stories. The rent for the house was cheap, too cheap. But he didn't care. The landlord apparently acted nervous while handing over the keys. Before leaving, he gave one warning. "You'll hear things at night," the old man told him. "Just don't answer when the house calls your name." The veteran laughed it off. The first night inside the house was normal. Nothing strange happened. But on the second night, he woke up sometime after midnight because he heard footsteps above him. Slow dragging footsteps, back and forth, back and forth. He grabbed a flashlight and checked the upstairs rooms. Every room was empty except for dusty furniture covered in old white sheets. But the footsteps continued directly above him. That was impossible. There wasn't even a third floor. The strange part was, the footsteps stopped the moment he looked upward. On the third night, things became much worse. At exactly 3:13 in the morning, the power suddenly went out. The entire house fell into darkness. Then he heard breathing, deep, wet, close, right beside his ear. He turned quickly and shined the flashlight around the room. Nothing. But when the beam crossed the floor, he noticed muddy footprints leading down the hallway. Bare human footprints. Fresh, dripping black water onto the wood floor. The footprints led to a locked door at the end of the upstairs hallway. And according to him, that door had never been there before. Then slowly, the doorknob started turning by itself. Click. The door slowly creaked open. Cold air poured out, carrying the smell of mold and rotting meat. Inside the room were hundreds of old photographs hanging on the walls, and in every single picture, someone was standing in the background, watching. The man told me the veteran stepped deeper into the room and looked closer at the photographs. Families standing in front of the house through different decades, old black and white pictures, faded color photographs, smiling faces from another time. But every single picture shared one thing. Behind every family stood the same woman, tall, pale, black hollow eyes, a twisted smile stretched across her face. And in every photograph, she stood a little closer. The veteran slowly approached the final picture hanging at the center of the wall. This photograph looked newer than the others. Too new. His stomach dropped. It was a picture of him sleeping in his bed from the night before. And standing behind him was the woman. Then a whisper drifted through the darkness. "You finally came home." The flashlight flickered. The room went black. Something touched the back of his neck. Ice-cold fingers. The veteran ran. Suddenly, the entire house exploded with noise. Doors slammed shut upstairs. Windows shattered in the darkness. Heavy footsteps thundered across the ceiling again. Only now, they were running. Something laughed inside the walls. Not human laughter. Wet, broken, hungry. He sprinted toward the front door and yanked it open, but outside was gone. No road, no trees, only another hallway, longer than before. The house had changed. Every door led deeper inside. Every window showed complete darkness. Then he heard voices, soft crying from inside the walls, children whispering, "Help us! Don't let her take you." The wallpaper began to move. Human shapes pushed outward beneath the walls like trapped bodies trying to escape. Hands clawed through the wallpaper before sinking back inside. Then suddenly, the lights came back on. At the far end of the hallway stood the woman from the photographs, smiling at him, waiting. The lights flickered above him. The woman slowly tilted her head to one side. Then her mouth stretched wider and wider until it split open across her face. Inside her mouth were rows of human teeth, different people. The woman slowly pointed directly at him. Then the walls began breathing again. The entire house inhaled, and every door slammed shut at once. The veteran ran blindly through the twisting hallways, but every room led back to the same hallway, the same woman, the same smile. The crying inside the walls grew louder. Now he could hear dozens of voices begging for help. Then he saw them, faces trapped beneath the wallpaper, human faces pressing outward from inside the walls, some crying, some screaming, some staring silently at him. One face pushed farther through the wall than the others. An old man. His eyes rolled toward the veteran. "Run," the old man whispered. Then the wall swallowed him back inside. The breathing grew heavier, closer. The entire house seemed alive now. The floorboards pulsed beneath his feet like a heartbeat. The ceiling groaned overhead, and somewhere deep inside the darkness, something massive moved. Then the woman appeared again, directly behind him. This time he saw her clearly. Her skin looked stretched tightly across her bones. Black liquid dripped from her eyes. Her fingers were impossibly long, and her smile never moved. The veteran screamed and stumbled backward. The woman opened her mouth, but instead of words, hundreds of whispers came pouring out at once. Different voices, different screams, different final words. The voices of everyone the house had taken. Then suddenly, everything became silent. The woman slowly raised one finger and pointed toward the upstairs window. The veteran turned. Outside the window stood dozens of pale figures motionless in the darkness, every missing person from the photographs, watching the house, waiting. Then all of them slowly smiled. The lights exploded. Darkness swallowed the hallway, and the veteran's scream echoed through the Hallow House one final time. The town sheriff arrived the next morning after neighbors reported hearing screams during the night. The front door stood wide open. The house was empty. The veteran was gone. Only a flashlight remained upstairs beside a newly framed photograph hanging on the wall. The picture showed the Hallow House at night, and standing at the upstairs window was the missing man, pale, smiling, standing beside the woman with black eyes. And that concludes tonight's story. Thank you all for listening tonight here at Dark Tale Shorts 101. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more dark tales and nightmares. And remember, if you ever hear breathing inside an empty house, don't answer when it calls your name.